The massive ship New Horizons moved through the darkness of space like a sleeping giant. Inside its metal walls, 50,000 humans lived and worked as they traveled to their new home. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the large windows. His wife Lisa worked in the medical bay 3 levels below, taking care of the sick and injured. The ship had been traveling for 8 months now. They were going to a planet called Kepler 4 for to be, where they would build a new colony. Jake thought about his daughter, Amy, who was only 6 years old. She was in the education center with the other children, learning about their new world. The New Horizons carried more than 8,000 children. Some were babies, others were teenagers. They all depended on the adults to keep them safe during the long journey. Jake took this responsibility very seriously. Every human adult on the ship did. "Captain," said his first officer, Commander Helen Brooks, "we're getting strange readings from the engine room." Jake frowned. The engines were the most important part of the ship. Without them, they would be stuck in space forever. "What kind of readings?" "The fusion reactors are running too hot. Chief Engineer Collins is checking it now." Pete Collins was one of the best engineers Jake had ever worked with. If anyone could fix the problem, it was Pete. The man had a 12-year-old daughter named Amy, just like Jake did. Pete often talked about how he wanted to give her a good life on the new planet. Suddenly, the ship shook. Not the gentle movement they were used to, but a violent trembling that made everyone grab onto something. Jake heard screams from other parts of the ship. Emergency lights began flashing red. "All hands to emergency stations," Jake announced over the ship's speakers. "This is not a drill." The shaking got worse. Jake could hear metal groaning under stress. Through the windows, he saw pieces of the ship floating away into space. They were in serious trouble. "Captain, we have a hull breach in Section 7, reported Commander Brooks." "That's near the children's quarters." Jake's heart stopped for a moment. Section 7 housed almost 2,000 children. If that part of the ship lost air, they would all die. "Get emergency teams there now," Jake ordered. "And patch me through to the whole ship." Jake picked up the communication device and spoke to everyone on the New Horizons. "This is your captain. We have a serious emergency. All adults are to help with repairs and evacuation procedures. All children are to stay with their teachers and follow their instructions. We'll get through this together." It's down in the medical bay. Lisa Morrison was already preparing for casualties. She had lived through emergencies before, but nothing like this. The ship was falling apart around them. Dr. Morrison called Nurse Betty White, getting reports of injuries in Section 7. "Looks like the whole breach is bad." Lisa grabbed her medical kit. "Get a team together. We're going to Section 7. As Lisa ran through the corridors, she saw something that made her proud to be human. Adults were running toward the danger, not away from it. Parents were helping other people's children, not just their own. Teachers were organizing groups of kids and keeping them calm. In Section 7, the situation was terrible. A large hole had been torn in the ship's side. Air was rushing out into space, and the emergency barriers were failing. Pete Collins was already there with his repair team, working desperately to seal the breach. "Pete, how bad is it?" shouted Jake as he arrived. "It's bad, Captain. The emergency barriers won't hold much longer. We need to evacuate this section now." Jake looked around. There were over 500 children in this section alone. They needed to get them all to safety before the barriers failed completely. "All right, everyone listen up," Jake announced. "We're going to move these children to Section 5. Adults, I need you to carry the small ones. Older kids, you help the younger ones walk. Could do this together?" What happened next amazed everyone. Without being asked, every adult in the area began helping. Fathers picked up children who weren't their own. Mothers comforted scared kids they had never met before. Even elderly passengers helped carry supplies. The evacuation was almost complete when the worst happened. The main emergency barrier cracked. Air began rushing out faster than before. If it failed completely, everyone still in Section 7 would die. "I can seal it manually," Pete Collins said. "Okay. But someone has to stay behind to operate the controls." Everyone knew what that meant. Whoever stayed behind would not survive. The manual controls were right next to the breach. When the barrier sealed, that person would be trapped on the wrong side. "I'll do it," Pete said simply. "My daughter Amy is already safe in Section 5. That's all that matters." Jake wanted to stop him, but they both knew there was no other choice. Pete was the only one who knew how to operate the manual controls. "Tell Emmy I love her," Pete said to Jake. "And tell her Daddy made sure all the kids got home safe." Pete ran to the manual controls. Jake ordered everyone else to evacuate immediately. As the last person left Section 7, Pete sealed the emergency barrier. The air stopped rushing out. The ship was safe, but Pete Collins was gone. 3 hours later, alien ships appeared. They were Safarians, tall beings made of what looked like living crystal. Their ships were beautiful and advanced. Commander Zethka was in charge of the rescue fleet, human vessel. "This is the Zephyrian Rescue Fleet." Zethka's voice came through the communication system. "We detected your emergency. Do you require assistance?" Jake was suspicious. Humans had met aliens before, but not many. They didn't know if the Zephyrians could be trusted. "We appreciate your offer," Jake replied carefully, "but we can handle our own problems." "Captain Morrison," Zethka said, somehow knowing Jake's name. "We have been watching your ship. We saw what your people did. We saw how you saved your children. We want to help." For the next few hours, the Zephyrians proved they were sincere. They helped repair the New Horizons and provided supplies. Commander Zethka walked through the ship with Jake, observing how humans behaved. "Your people are remarkable," Zethka said. "In our species, adults save themselves first. But you save your children first, even if it means you die." Jake nodded. "Children are our future. Without them, we have nothing." "This Pete Collins," Zethka continued. "He died to save children who were not even his own offspring." "It's what humans do," Jake said simply. "We protect all children, not just our own." Zethka was quiet for a long moment. "Commander Morrison, I think this is the beginning of something important. Your species has shown us something we had forgotten, something beautiful." 6 months later, representatives from 12 alien species met on the neutral world of Sanctuary Prime. They were there because of what Commander Zethka had seen on the New Horizons. The Zephyrian had told everyone about the humans who died to save their children. The meeting resulted in the Galactic Protection Accords. The first rule was simple, but absolute human children were never to be harmed, threatened, or used as weapons in any conflict. Any species that broke this rule would face the combined wrath of the galaxy. The aliens had learned an important lesson. Humans were dangerous when their children were threatened. It was better to protect human children than to face angry human parents. Jake Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, signed the Accords on behalf of humanity. As he put his name on the document, he thought about Pete Collins and all the other adults who had sacrificed everything for their children. The galaxy was about to learn that protecting human children was not just good policy. It was the key to peace itself. 20 years had passed since the New Horizons incident. COS protection accords were now law across the known galaxy. Human colonies grew and prospered under this protection. The galaxy had learned to respect the simple rule: never harm human children on the mining world of Kepler-4 for to be. Ben Carter stood outside his office and watched the morning shift begin. Humans, Zephyrians, and 4 other alien species worked together in the massive mining operation. The planet was rich in rare metals that everyone needed for their technology. Ben's 12-year-old daughter, Katie, ran past him, heading to the education center. She waved at her alien friends as she went. There was Zix, a young Zephyrian whose crystal body sparkled in the sunlight. Next to him walked Grok, a small Thurian with gray skin and large eyes. Katie had grown up with these alien children. To her, they were just friends. "Dad, can I go to the caves with my friends after school?" Katie asked, stopping beside her father. Ben smiled. "Which caves, sweetheart?" "The crystal caves near Sector 7. Six wants to show us how his people grow crystals. Stay with the group and be back before dark," Ben said. "And take your communicator." Katie hugged her father and ran off. Ben watched her go, feeling proud. Okay, this was what the galaxy could be like when everyone worked together. It's children from different worlds, playing and learning as friends. But peace was not guaranteed. The outer regions of space, trouble was growing. The hegemony was a military group led by the insect-like Vexteri. Their leader, War Prime Clickstar, believed that humans received unfair treatment. He thought the protection accords gave humans too much power. "The softskins hide behind their offspring," Clickstar said to his commanders. "Okay, while we must follow their rules, they expand their territory and take our resources." Commander Frax, Clickstar's second in command, nodded his insect head. "The other species fear human anger. They give humans whatever they want to avoid conflict."
Exactly.
Clickstar clicked his mandibles together. "Okay, but what if we could make the humans look like the aggressors? What if we could turn the galaxy against them?" The hegemony had been planning for months. They wanted to test human responses without breaking the sacred rule about children. Their first target was a human research station called Deep Space 7. Doctor Richard Stone led the research team at Deep Space 7. They were studying new forms of energy that could help power starships. The station was small, with only 30 people working there. Right, 3 of those people were children. Dr. Stone's son Gary, age 10, and the twin daughters of engineer Mary Foster, both 8 years old. The attack came without warning. Hegemony ships appeared out of hyperspace and surrounded the station. Okay, War Prime Clickstar himself led the assault. It's human research station. "You are violating hegemony space," Clickstar announced over the communication system. "Surrender immediately." Dr. Stone was confused. "This is neutral space. We have permission from the Galactic Council to be here." "Your permission means nothing," Clickstar replied. "Evacuate your station now, or we will destroy it." Dr. Stone looked at his team. Everyone was scared, but they all knew the rules. The hegemony could attack the station, but they could not harm the children. It was galactic law. "We will evacuate," Dr. Stone said, "but we need time to gather our research data." "You have 1 hour," Clickstar said. As the humans prepared to leave, something strange happened. The hegemony soldiers who boarded the station carefully avoided the areas where the children were playing. They destroyed equipment and took research data. Good, but they made sure the children were safe. Even these militants respected the first rule. Dr. Stone realized this was not a random attack. The hegemony was sending a message. They wanted to show that they could hurt humans without breaking galactic law. News of the attack reached Earth Defense Force headquarters quickly. Captain Nina Rodriguez was assigned to investigate. She was an experienced officer who had served in deep space for 15 years. Her ship, the Vigilant, was one of the fastest in the fleet. Captain Rodriguez, Admiral Harrison, said over the secure communication channel, "This attack is different. The hegemony followed the protection accords, but they're clearly testing our responses." "I understand, sir," Nina replied. "What are my orders?" "Find out what they're really planning. Cass, be careful. Something bigger is happening." Here, Nina took her ship to the outer regions where the hegemony was active. What she found worried her. The insects were building new bases and moving large numbers of ships. This was not just about one research station. On the mining world, Ben Carter received a security alert about the hegemony activities. As the colony administrator, he was responsible for the safety of everyone on Kepler 4 for to be, including thousands of human children. Katie. He called to his daughter that evening. I need you to stay close to home for a while. Why, Dad? Did something happen? Ben did not want to scare her, but she needed to know. There might be some trouble with the hegemony. Nothing for you to worry about, but I want you where I can keep you safe. Katie nodded. Even at 12, she understood that adults sometimes had to make difficult decisions to protect children. 3 days later, Captain Rodriguez made a disturbing discovery. Her ship's sensors detected a hidden hegemony base in the asteroid field near the Proxima system. The base was huge, much larger than anything they had seen before. Captain, her science officer reported, the base is heavily shielded, but we're detecting some kind of weapons development. Nina ordered her ship closer, using advanced scanning equipment. They discovered that the hegemony was building weapons specifically designed to attack human ships while avoiding areas where children might be present. The weapons could disable ships without destroying them completely. They're planning to capture human vessels. Nina realized they want to take prisoners without violating the protection accords. But there was something else. Nina's intelligence officer found communication signals between the hidden base and someone in the Galactic Council itself. Someone with high-level access was feeding information to the hegemony. Captain, these signals are encrypted with Council security codes, the intelligence officer reported. Whoever is sending them has access to our colony locations, defense plans, and patrol schedules. Nina felt cold. A traitor in the Galactic Council was helping the hegemony plan attacks on human settlements. This was not just about testing boundaries anymore. This was about betrayal at the highest levels. Back on Kepler 4 for 2B, Ben Carter gathered his senior staff for an emergency meeting. Representatives from all the alien species working on the planet attended. Even young Zix's father, Crystal Singer, Sethka, came to show support. Friends, Ben said, we have learned that the hegemony is planning something big. We don't know when or where they will strike, but we need to be ready. What can we do to help? Asked Sethka in his musical voice. We stand together, Ben replied. Humans, Cephirians, Thurians, all of us. We protect each other's children. The meeting ended with everyone agreeing to increase security and share information. But Ben knew this was just the beginning. The hegemony was planning something that would test the very foundations of galactic peace. That night, as Ben tucked Katie into bed, she asked him a question that made him proud. Dad, if the bad insects come here, will you protect Zix and Grok too? Of course, sweetheart, Ben said. Protect all children, remember? That's what makes us human. Katie smiled and closed her eyes. She felt safe because she knew her father and all the other adults would keep her and her friends protected. But in the darkness of space, the hegemony was preparing for something that would change everything. They had found a way to break the first rule without technically violating it. And they had help from someone the humans trusted. The galaxy was about to learn that some rules, once broken, could never be repaired. Chancellor Vorthok sat in his private office on the council world of Sanctuary Prime. The tall, loose-skinned Altarian looked at the secret messages on his personal computer. Species had ruled the Galactic Council for over a century, but humans were becoming too powerful. Something had to be done. The protection accords have made humans untouchable, Vorthok said to himself. Other species fear to anger them. This gives humans too much influence. Vorthok had been secretly working with War Prime Clickstar for months. The hegemony leader wanted to destroy human colonies. Vorthok wanted to remove human political power. Together, they had created a plan that would accomplish both goals. The plan was simple, but evil. They would make humans look like aggressors, then use that as an excuse to take human children into protective custody. Once the children were captured, the The hegemony could force humans to do whatever they wanted on the peaceful farming world of Haven Prime. Okay. Jack Miller woke up early. As always, he walked through his fields of grain, checking the crops in the morning light. His wife Carol was in the kitchen making breakfast for their twin sons, Danny and Luke. Both boys were 8 years old and full of energy. Haven Prime was home to 30,000 humans. They grew food that fed millions of people across the galaxy. The planet was protected by the Galactic Accords, and everyone felt safe there. "Dad, can we help with the harvest today?" Danny asked as the family ate breakfast. "After your lessons," Jack replied. "Education first, work second." Luke nodded eagerly. Teacher Williams said, "We're learning about alien cultures today. I want to learn about the Zephyrians." Carol smiled at her sons. They were good boys who cared about learning and helping others. She was proud of them, but danger was coming to Haven Prime. Chancellor Vorthok had arranged for a special council inspection of the planet. The inspector was supposed to check that humans were following galactic agricultural laws. The real purpose was much darker. Inspector Irillanos arrived on Haven Prime with a small team. He was an insect-like alien from a species that worked closely with the hegemony. His job was to create an excuse for what would happen next. Governor Miller, Inspector Irillanos, said to Haven Prime's leader, "We are here to inspect your agricultural facilities." Governor Patricia Miller, Jack's sister, welcomed the inspection team. "Of course, Inspector, we have nothing to hide. Our farms follow all galactic regulations." For 3 days, the inspection team visited farms across Haven Prime. They found nothing wrong, which frustrated Inspector Irillanos. He needed evidence of wrongdoing to justify the next part of the plan. On the 4th day, Irillanos made his move. He planted illegal weapons in one of the storage facilities near Jack Miller's farm. Then, he called for an emergency meeting with Governor Miller. "Governor, we have discovered military weapons hidden in your agricultural storage areas," Irillanos announced. "This violates the Sanctuary Agricultural Treaty." Governor Miller was shocked. "That's impossible. We don't have any weapons on Haven Prime except for the local security force." "The evidence is clear," Irillanos replied. "These weapons prove that Haven Prime is being used as a secret military base." Before Governor Miller could respond, hegemony ships appeared in the sky above Haven Prime. War Prime Clickstar had been waiting for Irillanos' signal. "This is War Prime Clickstar," the insect leader announced over the planet's communication system. "The Galactic Council has discovered that you humans are violating galactic law. We are here to restore order." Jack Miller looked up at the dark ships in the sky. Something was very wrong. Haven Prime had no weapons except for basic security equipment. Someone was lying. "Carol, get the boys inside," Jack said urgently. "Something bad is happening." Across the planet, hegemony soldiers began landing. They surrounded important buildings and took control of communication systems. Inspector Irillanos met with Clickstar to coordinate their fake emergency. "The weapons have been discovered as planned," Irillanos reported. "Now we implement the next phase." Clickstar nodded his insect head. "Begin the extraction. Remember, we are protecting the human children from their own parents' illegal activities." What happened next was the first time in 20 years that the sacred rule was broken. Hegemony soldiers went to schools, homes, and community centers. They told human parents that their children needed to be taken to safety while the weapons situation was investigated. "You cannot take our children," Jack Miller said when soldiers came to his farm. "The Protection Accords forbid it. The Protection Accords require us to protect children from dangerous situations." The lead soldier replied, "Atia, your planet has illegal weapons. The children are safer with us." Danny and Luke Miller clung to their parents as the soldiers approached. They did not understand what was happening, but they knew it was wrong. "Dad, don't let them take us," Danny whispered. Jack wanted to fight, but there were too many soldiers. They had weapons, and he had none. If he resisted, they might hurt his sons. "It's going to be okay, boys," Jack said, trying to sound calm. "Stay together and take care of each other." The soldiers took Danny and Luke along with almost 200 other human children from Haven Prime. They loaded them onto transport ships and left the planet. Quickly, news of the children's capture spread across human space within hours. Every human colony received the same terrible message. Children had been taken from Haven Prime by the hegemony. With the approval of the Galactic Council, Admiral Steve Harrison was in his office on Earth when the news arrived. He read the report 3 times, unable to believe what he was seeing. For 20 years, no one had dared to take human children. Now, it had happened. "Get me Captain Rodriguez immediately," Harrison ordered his aide, "and contact all fleet commanders. We have a situation." Captain Nina Rodriguez was investigating hegemony activities near the border when she received Harrison's emergency message. The words made her blood run cold. "Sir, are you certain about this report?" she asked. "Confirmed by multiple sources," Harrison replied. 200 human children have been taken by the hegemony. They claim it's for the children's protection. Nina felt something change inside her. She had served in the military for 15 years. But this was different. This was about children. Human children. "What are my orders, Admiral?" "Find those children, Captain. Use any resources you need." "And Rodriguez, the rules of engagement have changed. The hegemony broke the sacred compact. We respond accordingly." On Haven Prime, parents gathered in the town center. Jack and Carol Miller stood with hundreds of other families whose children had been taken. Everyone was angry and scared. "What do we do now?" asked one father. Governor Miller tried to provide leadership. "We contact Earth Defense Force. We demand our children back." "The council approved this," said another parent. "Who can we trust?" Jack Miller spoke up. "We trust each other, trust our people, and we make sure this never happens again." Carol Miller held her husband's hand. "They took our babies, all of our babies, across the galaxy." Human colonies began receiving the same message from Earth Defense Force Command. "Prepare for emergency mobilization." Every human ship, every human weapon, every human resource was being activated. The hegemony had made a fatal mistake. They thought taking human children would make humans weak and desperate. Instead, they had awakened something that had been sleeping for 20 years. Chancellor Vorthok watched the human response from his office on Sanctuary Prime. Human ships were moving across the galaxy, all heading in the same direction. More ships than anyone had ever seen humans deploy. "How's we underestimated their reaction," Vorthok said to his aide. His aide, a nervous Altarian, checked the latest reports. "Sir, every human colony is mobilizing. Even civilian ships are being converted for military use." Vorthok felt the first hint of concern. The plan was supposed to divide humans and make them negotiate. Instead, it seemed to be uniting them in a way no one had seen before. In the hidden base in the Void Nebula, War Prime Clickstar prepared his defenses. He had 200 human children as hostages. No parent would risk their children's lives by attacking. But Clickstar did not understand humans as well as he thought. He was about to learn why the galaxy had created the Protection Accords in the first place. He was about to discover what happens when you threaten human children. The sacred compact had been broken. Now humanity would show the galaxy what that really meant. The galaxy had never seen anything like what happened next. Within 12 hours of the children being taken, every human colony began mobilizing for war. Ships that had been used for farming, mining, and trading were quickly converted into warships. Humans who had never fought before were volunteering for combat duty. Admiral Steve Harrison stood in the command center on Earth, watching the biggest military operation in human history unfold. Screens showed fleets gathering from across human space. The numbers were incredible. where 2,000 ships were converging on one location. "Admiral, we have confirmation from all sectors," reported his aide. "Every available ship is heading to the rally point near the Proxima system." Harrison nodded grimly. "Good. And the volunteers?" "Sir, we have more people wanting to fight than we have ships to carry them. Farmers, teachers, doctors, engineers. Everyone wants to help bring the children home." Dr. Lisa Morrison, now 58 years old, had volunteered to lead the medical corps. She remembered the New Horizons incident 20 years ago. She remembered how her husband Jake had saved those children. "Okay, it was happening again. How many medical volunteers do we have?" Lisa asked her assistant. 10,000, Dr. Morrison. "We've never had so many people volunteer for a single mission." Lisa felt proud and sad at the same time. Proud because humans were willing to risk everything for their children. Sad because it had come to this dot. Jake Morrison came out of retirement to captain the flagship Retribution. At 62, he was older than most captains, but no one questioned his right to be there. He had been saving human children his whole career. "Admiral Harrison," Jake said as he reported for duty, "the Retribution is ready for departure." "Good to have you back, Jake," Harrison replied. "Are you sure about this? You earned your retirement." Jake looked at the pictures of the captured children on the command center screens. Danny and Luke Miller smiled back at him from their school photos. "Those kids need to come home, Steve. That's all that matters." Meanwhile, Amy Collins worked frantically in her laboratory. She was 28 now, the daughter of Pete Collins, who had died saving children on the New Horizons. Amy had become one of the galaxy's best technology experts, and she had an idea. "The Void Nebula interferes with most tracking systems," Amy explained to Admiral Harrison over the communication link. "But I've been working on quantum tracking technology. Might be able to find the children even in that interference." "Long do you need?" Harrison asked. "Give me 6 hours," Amy replied. "I'll have the tracking system ready." While Amy worked on finding the children, the captured kids were showing their own strength. In the hidden hegemony base, Danny Miller had become the leader of all the human children. Even though he was only 8 years old, the other kids looked up to him. "Remember what our parents taught us?" Danny told the group. "We stick together. We help each other. We don't give up." His twin brother Luke was using his knowledge of electronics to cause problems for their captors. He had learned about circuits and computers in school, and he was secretly damaging the base's security systems. "The door locks are getting weaker," Luke whispered to his brother. "I think I can break them soon." War Prime Clickstar was beginning to worry. His sensors showed massive human fleet movements, but he felt confident in his hidden base. The Void Nebula made it impossible to find, or so he thought. "How many human ships are gathering?" Clickstar asked his intelligence officer. "Over 2,000. War Prime. It's the largest fleet we've ever seen humans deploy." Clickstar clicked his mandibles nervously. "No matter. They cannot find us here, okay? And they will not risk harming their precious offspring." But Clickstar did not understand what he was facing. This was not just a military operation. This was every human parent in the galaxy demanding their children back. Amy Collins finished her quantum tracking system just as the human fleet reached the rally point. Captain Nina Rodriguez, now promoted to Admiral, commanded the search operations. "Amy, are you ready?" Nina asked. "Tracking system is online," Amy replied from her ship. "Beginning scan of the Void Nebula now." The quantum tracker sent invisible beams of energy through the nebula's interference. For 2 hours, Amy searched while 2,000 ships waited. Finally, her equipment detected something. "I found them," Amy announced. "The base is deep in the nebula. Coordinates 7-7-Mark-9-4. Double quotes. Admiral Harrison smiled grimly. "All ships, this is Admiral Harrison. We have our target. Operation Homecoming begins now." The human fleet entered the Void Nebula in a formation that amazed even experienced military officers. 2,000 ships moved as one, each crew member focused on the same goal. They were not just soldiers anymore. They were parents, siblings, friends, and neighbors of the captured children. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Retribution as the fleet approached the hegemony base. Through the swirling gas and particles of the nebula, he could see the enemy facility. It was huge and heavily defended. Captain Morrison, his weapons officer, reported, "Base has over 500 defense platforms and at least 50 warships." "Doesn't matter," Jake replied calmly. "Bringing those children home." The battle began when the hegemony opened fire. Energy beams and missiles filled the space around the hidden base. But the human fleet had advantages that Clickstar had not expected. They fought with precision and coordination that came from shared purpose. Admiral Rodriguez commanded the assault with surgical precision. Wing Alpha, take out the defense platforms on the north side. Wing Beta, disable their communication arrays. Wing Gamma, prepare boarding operations. Dr. Lisa Morrison watched from the medical ship as the battle unfolded. She had seen many military operations, but this was different. The humans were not fighting to destroy their enemies. They were fighting to save their children. "All medical teams, prepare for casualties," Lisa announced. "And remember, we treat everyone who needs help, even the enemies." The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the hegemony base was captured and every defense was destroyed. But most importantly, every human child was found alive and unharmed. Danny and Luke Miller ran to the rescue teams when the doors opened. Behind them came 198 other children, all safe and unhurt. "Are you okay?" asked the first rescue officer to reach them. "We're fine," Danny replied with a confidence that surprised the adults. "We knew you would come. Our parents always come for us." 4 Prime Clickstar was captured alive. His human soldiers arrested him. He looked around at the destroyed base with confusion. "How did you find us?" Clickstar demanded. "The nebula should have hidden us completely." Amy Collins, who had come aboard with the boarding party, smiled at the insect leader. "You forgot something important. When you threaten human children, human parents become very creative. We will always find a way." Admiral Harrison received the news while coordinating the fleet withdrawal. "All children recovered safely, sir," Captain Rodriguez reported. "0 casualties among the hostages, and our losses." Harrison asked, surprisingly light, "Admiral, it seems that when humans fight for their children, they become very efficient." My rescue operation sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Other species watched in amazement as humans demonstrated precision, power, and restraint, all at the same time. They could have destroyed entire hegemony worlds, but they chose surgical strikes instead. Chancellor Vorthok watched the news reports from his office on Sanctuary Prime. The human fleet was already withdrawing, their mission complete. No human ship had attacked civilian targets or non-military installations. They could have conquered half the galaxy, Vorthok said to his aide. But they only wanted their children back. "Sir, perhaps we misjudged human intentions." The aide replied nervously. Vorthok realized his plan had failed completely. Instead of making humans look like aggressors, the rescue operation had shown the galaxy that humans were both powerful and moral. They fought only when necessary and only for their children as the human fleet returned home. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Retribution and thought about his old friend, Pete Collins. Pete had died to save children 20 years ago. Today, thousands of humans had risked their lives for the same reason. "Captain," his communications officer announced, "we're receiving a message from Earth Defense Command. The President wants to speak with you personally." Jake smiled. "Tell the President we're bringing everyone home." In the medical bay, Dr. Lisa Morrison checked on the rescued children one last time. They were tired and scared, but they were safe. As she watched them reunite with their parents over video calls, she felt hope for the future. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Human children were not just protected by law anymore. They were protected by the absolute determination of their entire species. And that was a force no enemy could defeat. The rescue of the human children from the Void Nebula changed everything. News of the operation spread across the galaxy within days. Every species watched the recordings of human ships moving as one massive force, fighting with deadly precision, while protecting innocent lives. Chancellor Vorthok sat in his office on Sanctuary Prime, reading resignation letters from half the Galactic Council. The other half wanted him arrested for treason. His plan to weaken human influence had completely failed. "Sir," his aide said nervously, "Captain Rodriguez is here to see you." Nina Rodriguez entered the office with 2 Earth Defense Force officers. She carried official documents that would end Vorthok's career and possibly his freedom. "Chancellor Vorthok, you are under arrest for conspiracy against member species and violation of the Galactic Protection Accords," Nina announced formally. Vorthok stood slowly. His blue skin had turned pale gray with fear. "Captain Rodriguez, surely we can discuss this matter diplomatically. The time for diplomacy ended when you helped steal our children," Nina replied coldly. "Amy Collins' quantum tracking technology found all your secret communications with the hegemony. The evidence is complete." Vorthok was led away in restraints. Other council members watched in silence. They had learned that betraying human trust carried serious consequences. On Haven Prime, Gak and Carol Miller held their sons Danny and Luke close. The boys had been back for a week, but their parents still felt the need to keep them nearby. The twins seemed stronger somehow, more confident than before. "Dad, when I grow up, I want to help protect other kids like Captain Rodriguez did," Danny said during dinner. "That's a good goal, son," Jack replied. "But first, you need to finish your education." Luke nodded seriously. "I want to learn more about technology like Amy Collins. She's the one who found us in that nebula." Carol smiled at her boys. They had been through something terrible, but they were still thinking about helping others. That was what made them human. The Galactic Council faced its biggest crisis in history. Emergency meetings were held every day as species argued about what to do next. Some wanted to punish humanity for their military response. Others believed humans had shown remarkable restraint. The humans could have destroyed every hegemony world, argued Ambassador Zethka of the Zephyrians. Instead, they struck only military targets and rescued their children. This shows wisdom, not aggression. They mobilized over 2,000 warships, countered Ambassador Krell of the Thurian Republic. Such military power threatens galactic stability. The debate continued for weeks until Admiral Nina Rodriguez was invited to address the full council. She stood before representatives of 47 species and spoke words that would reshape galactic politics. "Honored delegates," Nina began. "Humanity did not ask for special protection 20 years ago. You created the Protection Accords because you recognized something important. Human parents will do anything to protect their children. Anything." She paused and looked around the chamber. Every alien representative was listening carefully. "But recent events have taught us that we cannot trust others to keep our children safe. The Galactic Council failed. Some of you even helped our enemies. So humanity will now handle our own protection." The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some species were angry, others worried, and a few seemed relieved. "Are you saying humans are leaving the council?" asked Ambassador Krell. "No," Nina replied firmly. "We are saying that human children are our responsibility alone. We will remain part of the galactic community, but we will defend ourselves." Led to the creation of the Human Protective Services, a new branch of Earth Defense Force dedicated entirely to child safety. Admiral Rodriguez was chosen to lead this organization, with Dr. Lisa Morrison as Chief Medical Officer and Amy Collins as Head of Technology Development. The new service established bases near every human colony. Advanced warning systems, quick response fleets, and the latest technology were deployed to ensure no human child would ever be taken again. Our mission is simple, Nina explained to her first officers. We protect human children from any threat, anywhere in the galaxy. We respond fast, we respond hard, and we bring them home safe. Dr. Lisa Morrison designed medical protocols specifically for child rescue operations. Her teams could treat injuries, trauma, and provide comfort to scared children during emergencies. Amy Collins created technology that amazed even advanced alien species. Her quantum tracking systems could find anyone, anywhere in the galaxy. Her communication networks allowed instant contact between all human colonies. The hegemony tried one last act of revenge. 6 months later, a small group of their ships attacked the human colony of New Pacifica, home to 15,000 people, including 6,000 children. The attack was a complete disaster for the hegemony. Human protective services detected the threat for hours before the enemy ships arrived. Response fleets reached New Pacifica within 2 hours of the first warning. This is Admiral Rodriguez, Nina announced as her ships surrounded the hegemony attackers. You have 30 seconds to surrender or withdraw. Your choice. The hegemony ships tried to fight. It was over in minutes. Advanced human weapons disabled the enemy vessels without destroying them. The crews were captured alive and sent to Galactic prison. But the real message was in the timing. The entire response, from detection to victory, took less than 3 hours. The galaxy realized that attacking human children was now impossible. On Kepler-4 for to be. Ben Carter watched his daughter Katie play with her alien friends. The mining operation continued to prosper, and relationships between species remained strong. But everyone understood the new reality. Dad, did you hear about New Pacifica? Katie asked that evening. Yes, sweetheart. The bad people were stopped before they could hurt anyone. Good, Katie said simply. My friends should be safe too. Ben smiled. His daughter still cared about everyone, human and alien alike. Had not changed. But now she lived in a galaxy where human determination guaranteed her safety. Years passed peacefully. Human colonies grew and prospered. Alien species continued to work and trade with humans, but they were more careful about respecting human boundaries. The protection accords were officially dissolved, replaced by something stronger. Universal understanding. Jake Morrison, now retired again, visited the memorial to Pete Collins on the anniversary of the New Horizons incident. The plaque read, Pete Collins, engineer and father. He gave his life so children could live. You would be proud, Pete, Jake said quietly. We kept our promise. We protect all the children now. Amy Collins, Pete's daughter, joined Jake at the memorial. She was now Director of Technology for Human Protective Services and one of the most respected people in human space. Dad always said children were our future, Amy said. I think he would approve of what we built. Jake nodded. The galaxy is safer because of what he started. It's because of what all of us learned. The final scene took place on Haven Prime, where Jack and Carol Miller celebrated their son's 16th birthday. Danny and Luke had grown into confident young men who carried themselves with quiet strength. Have you decided what you want to study? Carol asked her sons. I want to join Human Protective Services, Danny replied. Someone has to keep the next generation safe. I want to work with Amy Collins on new technology, Luke added. There's always more we can do to protect people. Jack felt proud of his sons. They had been through something terrible as children, but it had not made them bitter or afraid. Instead, it had taught them the importance of protecting others. That evening, as the family watched the sunset, Jack thought about the galaxy his sons would inherit. It was not perfect, but it was better. Humans had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors or rulers, but as protectors of what mattered most. The galaxy's first rule was gone, replaced by something even stronger. Every species now understood that humans were peaceful partners, loyal friends, and deadly enemies. But above all, their children were their sacred trust, and threatening that trust meant facing the full power of humanity united. The stars looked down on a galaxy at peace, watched over by a species that had learned to protect what could not protect itself. And in that protection, everyone found safety.